Welcome back, everybody. I'm going to give about 30 seconds to wrap up conversations and sit back down, and we'll get everybody started this next session. Perfect. I hope everybody enjoyed their lunch. I know we had a spirited conversation before the break on this same topic from a policy perspective, so I'm looking forward to this conversation about what we're doing with different companies around the region and the area to figure out this big issue going on every day. So it's my pleasure to introduce Michal Mateski. He's the CEO and co-founder of GreenTech. He's also on the board of directors of Macedonia 2025. He'll kick this off with a brief overview of his thoughts, present sort of the idea of what we're going to do, have a discussion, and we'll go from there. So, Michal, welcome.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. So, I believe the lunch was excellent, and I don't want to get you sleepy, so I want to engage you a little bit, to engage the audience. So, I would like the audience, so all of you who consider and are not happy with the environment and the issues we are facing with the pollution in Macedonia, please raise your hands. You don't need to be from Macedonia to be, yeah. Okay, I'm glad to see that. Then, please raise your hands, those of you who consider that this shouldn't be a political issue, that we should have a national consensus, and that we want to live in a clean and green Macedonia. So I can only say that I'm sorry that the minister was not here to listen to this. He was on the previous panel, but nevertheless, so I can just maybe paraphrase last year's Mike Zafirovsky's statement as a closure. So I would add just to that closure that it is not important for Macedonia if it's going left or right, as long as it's going up and green. This is what I would say, up and green. So, for myself, I am the kind of the green voice of the industry, because I'm in the green industry for 20 years already. And I'm really delighted that this year we have 3 strong panels on pollution, on environment. And I can just inform you that we will stay committed, the organization. We want to be one of the major drivers of these changes that we need urgently. We have already proposed to the government, to the existing government, Green Macedonia project. It was quite welcome. We will discuss later on the details, but eventually we will go there. And so the last question for the audience will be to raise your hands if each of you is willing to contribute to this change. Excellent. So I think that we have a consensus. So I'm encouraging you and inviting you to join us tomorrow at 10:30 on Midvodno. We will plant 100 trees. This is an event organized by Macedonia 2025 together with Michael's organization, Tree Bank, and we thank you for this. And this should be like a symbolic beginning of, we believe, a new era in Macedonia in the environment. So I would like to thank you all for this, and to start this panel with this positive energy. So I will move now to the panel. Thank you. So today we have 4 great panelists, and I will introduce them to you. We have on my left first Mr. Nikola Ljušev, the CEO of Makedonski Telekom as of July 2018. He gained extensive experience in the telecommunication industry on top-level management position in the Deutsche Telekom Group, in Cosmophone, in the Telekom Austria Group. And next to him, we have Ivan Miletić, coming from Belgrade. He is a Director External Affairs for Southeast Europe and International Affairs for Eastern Europe region at Philip Morris International since April 2019. Responsibilities include government affairs, regulatory affairs, external and internal communication, as well as managing team of external affairs professionals in 6 markets of Southeast Europe. We have Jonathan Banks from the US. He has worked with the Clear Air Task Force since 1999. Quite a long time, Jonathan, yeah. And he's really the expert in this group from the air pollution point of view. He now serves as a senior policy advisor. He directs all of the Clean Air Task Force international affairs on short-lived climate forces with a special focus on the oil and gas, methane and black carbon. He brings 2 decades of experience in developing innovative policies to address air pollution from power plants, mobile sources and fossil fuel development. He works directly with governments, companies, civil society around the world to develop policies and capacity to reduce air pollution. He is also working with members of the US Congress. And last but not least, our friend from next year, Mr. Yair Engel from Israel. He was the keynote speaker in the panel that we had on environment last year, and he's kind of the guru of circular economy and cradle-to-cradle concept in Israel. So I'm really happy to see Yair again this year with us. He's an expert designer, consultant in sustainable innovation and entrepreneurship, cradle-to-cradle and circular economy. So we have these distinguished guests, and I will just first start with the facts, the issues that we are facing in Macedonia for years. I will leave the air pollution as the last one, so we will not stick only to air pollution, but we have a lot of issues with the undeveloped waste management system. We have the littering problem. We have the water and soil pollution as well. And some key facts about the air pollution. We all know more or less that the main drivers are the home heating, the traffic, and the industry. Skopje is, the air pollution in Skopje exceeds all safety levels, and Skopje is being ranked as the 3rd most polluted city in Europe in terms of PM 2.5, 4 times higher than the WHO guideline. The air pollution has the 8th largest mortality risk factor in 2018 and was linked to 7.3% of deaths. It decreases life expectancy by 0.81 years in Macedonia. It also has, considering some of us are here in the businesses, it has serious impact on the economic growth through increasing the medical expenditure, decrease in work productivity, and rise in premature death toll. It also affects the job performance at workplaces, productivity, and results in missed days at work, inability to meet deadlines, impaired job results, and as well lost GDP. So this is the environment that we live in. What we can see in the past year, changes are happening. We would like them to be faster, but I would just like to mention some of them. We have improving of the solar energy production and wind energy as well. We had some projects for subsidizing of inverter air conditioners, subsidizing of changing of installing of TNG as a gas for the cars. We just heard in the previous panel that the city of Skopje has signed a contract with EBRD for green cities, and that is highly encouraging for all of us. So that's the frame where we are, and today we will also talk a lot about innovation, about how different industries can bring change. And for the beginning, I will start with Mr. Nikola Ljushev from the Telecom, the national leader in providing electronic communication services and in developing sophisticated ICT solutions to digitalize the society, member of the Deutsche Telekom Group. So, Mr. Ljushev, what did Makedonski Telekom did to reduce its environmental footprint?
Thank you very much for the nice introduction. I'm really pleased and honored to be among the distinguished panelists today. And probably some of you are wondering, what is this, what's the purpose of being here, of Makedonski Telekom as a telco provider, a company that is providing digital solutions for the society, for digitalizing public sector and so on. What we can contribute to this topic of protection of the environment and air pollution. And I need to say that in a nutshell, I was also struggling to find the purpose statement of our presence here. But then when I look at number of activities that we had that incrementally brought better energy efficiency, reduction of the CO2 emission, reducing the effects of green gases and so on and so forth, I figured out that we are quite kind of on a frontier of the developments in the country, and I wanted to share some of the things that we have done in the last couple of years. The first thing is by introducing new technologies, we managed to increase the capacity of our networks to sustain more traffic by investing less in energy. We have managed to reduce the energy consumption in the fixed network by introducing IP telephony in the fixed domain, and it practically halved the consumption of electricity. In the mobile production network, for instance, we have managed to reduce the consumption of electricity by 25% in the period of last 4.5 years. We did also improvements in the workspace and the power efficiency of the data centers, where basically we are spending less in heating, ventilation, air conditioning of the data center that are dissipating a large quantity of energy due to the traffic needs and due to the demand. And we did all this despite surge in the volumes of data and traffic. Investments in state-of-art technology help us to become better in energy efficiency and to lower CO2 footprint. And moreover, by doing a lot of activities in the commercial area, like introducing e-bills, like moving more towards digital marketing channels, we have saved more than 37 tons of paper, which means trees. And we are running a series of measures and optimization projects where basically we are squeezing, let me call it blood from a stone, in order to extract as much as possible from the energy that we are consuming, or reducing the energy consumption for the sake of protecting the environment. Deutsche Telekom set a very bold target for the next period. We intend in the next 3 years to completely abandon the usage of electricity that is produced from the environmentally friendly sources. So we are going to use electricity only from the sources that are renewable. We intend to reduce by year 2030 the emission of CO2 by 90%. The target for this year was reduction in 20%, and I'm very glad that we have achieved that. And all these things are governed centrally from Bonn. We are very much focused on these topics, on delivering, because we understand that we have to act responsibly. We are one of the largest enterprises in the country, and we need to be also a bright example to other companies as well.
Yeah, thank you, I'm sure. Mr. Miletic, how about Philip Morris? I believe some of in the audience will be, having some questions. What is Philip Morris doing on an environment session, But I think that you will be triggered a little bit more. So please tell us something more. What is your company doing to reduce its footprint?
Thank you. I agree. If you were wondering what a telecom company can do to improve things here, then you're definitely wondering what a company like Philip Morris can do. First of all, thank you very much for hosting this panel. Thank you to the organizers of this fantastic initiative. It's great to be here, and a great honor to speak on this panel. And I was getting a hard time before that I need notes. Of course, I'm certainly not a foremost expert on sustainability and environment, but for me, like for many people at Philip Morris, sustainability and basically raising consciousness about the environmental effects of what we do really came only a few years ago, Because we always thought we were a very, very green company, and you know, taking care of all of our operations from tobacco seed and tobacco leaf and everything else. But the issue that really we had was that you know, we made a product that was not necessarily a product that you would consider environmentally friendly. And 10 years ago, we realized that we have to go in a different direction, and we invested a lot into technology and science, and it was really innovation in our sector that drove our sustainability, I think, to come to the forefront. And I'll explain what I mean. About 5 years ago, we first launched our, what we then called next generation products, which are basically tobacco products that don't combust tobacco, but only heat tobacco, and by doing so, release a dramatically lower levels of toxicants, and we really think this is a revolution in our industry and in society overall. And among other things, I'm here in Macedonia for the last few days talking about this campaign that we now have, which is called Unsmoke Your World, where we inspire people who first of all, people who don't smoke not to start, people who smoke to quit, and for those who don't quit, to change to better alternatives to combustible cigarettes. And I'll come back to that in a second, but we realized with this innovation and with adding these new products to our portfolio that it's not enough to just have a product that's better, but that we have to completely transform the way we do business, that we have to completely transform the way we approach our operations, the way we approach how we treat our people, and then also that has led us to really improve our environmental consciousness. And so we've been working on reducing our environmental footprint. We've been very conscious about saving energy, basically reducing our energy expenditures. We are looking into alternative energy sources. I was very happy to see this morning on the news that the European Investment Bank has announced that by 2021 they'll also be divesting from fossil fuel sources and encouraging alternative energy sources. So I'm happy that my company is in good company there as well, and on the right path. And these energy conscious, I think, efforts have really led us to significant reduction in carbon emissions. Since 2010, we've reduced by about 36%. Our goal is to reduce by 40% by 2030 globally. So I think that's an effort that we can certainly achieve. And I'll look at my notes one more time. You'll forgive me. On greenhouse gas emissions, we've also done some, I think, amazing things. We've been recognized as, which is funny for a tobacco company to be very conscious about climate change, but we've also invested in activities that have to do with greenhouse gas emissions. And so for 5 years in a row, we've been listed on CDP's Climate A list, which is a list that really recognizes companies that invest in greenhouse gases. So just to round out this first question, here in Southeast Europe we have two factories. One in Niš, which is a Philip Morris factory, and then we have a joint venture here in Macedonia with Tutunski Kombinat Prilep. In Niš, we are completely on target when it comes to all of our environmental goals, and in Prilep, where we've been working together with our partners for the last 5 years, we've had some pressing business issues to first attend to in the first 5 years, which is to get our company to be in the black, and now it's our goal to really turn our attention to environment and to really get cracking on this as well.
Okay, great job. So thank you, Jonathan. You understand from the introduction that we have really a long list of issues that we want to address, especially about air pollution. And considering your 20-year plus experience in this domain, what's your opinion? Where should we start with? What should we start with first? And I would say like a second small question related to that is how we can bond mainly the policymakers.
And I was only harassing you about your note cards because I was not prepared enough to make note cards for myself, so good for you. Thank you for having me here. It's my first time here in North Macedonia. I think when you look at the host of problems, host of environmental issues that North Macedonia faces, the way that I would prioritize it, and you may not think that I'm prioritizing it, would suggest you think about them as one problem, and that's climate change. When you think about air pollution, access to energy, forest, whatever it is, water contamination, they all end up coming back to the most existential threat that this planet faces, and that's climate change. That doesn't prioritize what you actually do here in North Macedonia. But I think we need to think through that lens, because there are things that you might do for limiting air pollution that wouldn't make economic sense if you were to look through it through the lens of climate change. There are investments that you can make in reducing pollution right now that would make terrible sense when you start thinking about climate change. So things like the coal-fired power plant in Bitola. It's a lignite coal-fired power plant. It's what they call subcritical, which is the oldest technology there is for coal-fired power. I wouldn't invest a penny. Even though it's polluting and killing thousands of people, I wouldn't invest a penny in that. That should be the top priority for hopefully the international finance groups to support transitioning that facility out and finding new energy sources to replace that. But in this context of how I'm trying to frame it of climate policy, that we end up with a lot of very big plans in the climate world. We tend to make big promises. It's the same with air pollution. We make big promises and we make big plans, and everybody stands up and gets their picture taken, and then we never get to the steps to actually do the reductions. And so I think you need these overarching plans. You need the goals for the country. But you also need the concrete steps and the near-term victories on the issue. Climate change is a very, very depressing subject to work on. It's one of those problems that the more you learn about it, the more you realize just how scary it is, and the human psyche tends to shut off when it's faced with these kinds of things. So we end up making lots of promises, getting scared of what it's going to take to find the solution, and never actually getting around to doing the things that matter. So as the country is planning for its climate, air quality, energy plan, you find the things that are near-term and easy to do. And there are things that you can get near-term victories on. One of the things that's been effective in other parts of the world is focusing on, at the first, on new pollution sources. The Clean Air Act in the United States typically starts with new pollution sources and then transitions in a trickle-down fashion to existing sources. Existing sources are always the major source of pollution, and they're always the hardest, most expensive, and from a social perspective, the hardest to transition away from. But by starting with new pollution sources, you can slowly bring the market around. You can change what people are selling in the country, whether it's a wood stove, change the standards for what wood stoves can be sold here, improve the efficiency of them, improve the burn rate of them, bring in better air conditioning systems and requirements for air conditioning systems. If you focus on those new sources, requirements for new construction, it begins to create a market here in North Macedonia that can then trickle down to the existing sources. It doesn't get you the pollution reductions that everybody wants, because you're really targeting just slow transition when you're going after the new sources, but it does begin to help transition the market so that it makes the more difficult transition a little easier. I'll stop there.
Yeah, but I would say that we don't have too much time, so we will have
No.
to speed up with this,
No, you're absolutely right.
Start with the basics.
As the previous panel said, time is not on our side.
Yeah, definitely.
But the human mind needs victories, and so you need to come up with things that you can achieve. And we've all, on climate policy, we've suffered for years and years, on air pollution policy as well, we've suffered for years and years and years of no action. We need to pick off a few things that it gives us victories, and there are cases around the world where we are starting to see that, and it's truly inspiring to me because I've been depressed for a very long time.
And I will ask you about those examples in the next round, so thank you. And we'll move to Yair now. Yair, please remind the audience about a little bit of circular economy, what's the concept? And please then explain us how implementing of circular economy can bring benefits to the problems that we are facing, especially having in mind that since last year in EU we have the circular economy package implemented. That's on our way, on our path to EU, it's waiting for us, and the targets are pretty close. 2025, we have, for example, the content of recycled materials in the products by 25%. So it's something that we'll expect our industries as well. So please, in brief and the simplest possible way to explain us to the audience a little bit the circular economy concept and the effects that implementation of it can bring to the environmental issues we're
That's a
facing.
challenge, yeah?
Yeah.
It's a big challenge. First of all, I'm really happy to be here. It's my third time in Macedonia, and I'm hoping to be here again soon. And, okay, circular economy based on the principles of cradle to cradle, that's what I'm doing. We're talking about not tackling the problems in the end like recycling. Recycling is great, but we are talking about designing and planning everything from the beginning. So we need some good examples for that, and we have good example for that. If you're trying to fix the problem after you already have the problem, you already have the product or the service that is polluting, like you said, if you're having a bad energy source, you shouldn't try to fix it, just change it. But we're talking about designing everything from the beginning. Then using the best materials with good conditions of producing them, and producing a good product that you can work in cycles, like fixing it, upgrading it, reusing it, and then if it's finished, recycling it and bringing it back to material world. That's actually very possible. Last year, I showed here, many of the people probably were not here, one of the best examples, and it's going on now, is Elon Musk with his SpaceX operation. He's sending rockets to space with satellites, and he's actually doing circular economy by reusing missiles. And if you can reuse missiles, you can take care of air pollution in Macedonia. I'm sure of that. So instead of again, tackling problems when you already have them, like bringing all cars from Europe, you should invest in green transportation from the beginning. And what we are doing is we are working with companies, with cities, municipalities, and with governments, consulting them and working with them, mentoring them towards circular economy as the main method to work on their products and services. One more thing that I would like to mention, I was talking about it yesterday in the panel, but it was a small and closed panel, and we are actually planning a nice thing to be held in March, in the beginning, in middle of March. We last year we met for a few ministers and so on, and together with the ambassador of Israel in Macedonia, Dan Orian, that couldn't be here unfortunately, we decided to start a hackathon, a marathon for finding clean air solution. We don't want to call it air pollution. We're talking about any possible way, innovative, encouraging entrepreneurship to find new solution for having clean air in Macedonia. And if you find good solutions, many customers all over the world want it. So you have lots of work all over the world. So together with the Macedonia 2025 organization, with the Macedonian Innovation Fund, we are going to have that on March, probably, hopefully.
March 2020, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, March 2020, and have this combining Israeli startups, mentors, and startups from the region, and of course from Macedonia.
We're looking forward to that already. Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Yair. So, Mr. Jushev, back to you. You're one of the largest companies in the country with large number of employees as well. How do you deal with the employees? Do you engage them in the environment, in the green businesses, air pollution?
Well, beginning of this year, we discussed about strategy on an internal event, and of course, the objective of the company was to have a sustainable growth. But when we speak about sustainable growth as an ultimate aim or ultimate goal, we discussed about how we are going to reach it. And basically, the idea was that we need to become valued by society. Becoming valued by society means valued by customers, by employees, by shareholders, and the society in general, about institutions and so on and so forth. And we have invited employees to participate with their own ideas. I'm very pleased that from that invitation we came up with some 60 ideas in different segments. We managed to consolidate them, and some of them were kind of boldish and very provocative and interesting. We started developing an internal application where basically every employee can collect points and some incentives that companies contributing it if they're using eco-friendly way of transportation when they come to work or when they leave at the end of the working day back home. Or we have introduced, we had an idea where basically we figure out that there is a tension, a scrutiny over the measurement data that is coming up from the measurement stations, especially in the city of Skopje. And there was a lot of scrutiny, whether data is correct or not. And we said, look, let's try to use our own infrastructure, because we have a very densified grid of base station and a point of access where we have fiber optic network and so on. So let's put measurement equipment, quality measurement equipment over there, and let's try to bring some transparency over the measurement results in a qualitative and accurate manner in order to help not only or demystify what's true and what's wrong, but also help in pinpointing where potential source of pollution will start radiating some harmful gases. So we are having a lot of activities, and I'm very pleased that there was a engagement of the employees in a quite sensible and bullish way. And moreover, they were stimulating also some other things that we never ever thought about. For instance, there were some reactive activities that can be done in the situation when the air pollution is very high. A method called aerosolization, where basically you're spraying a tiny droplets of water, creating a kind of a watery curtain with a height of 10-15 meters that can absorb. We can quickly collect the particles and put them down to ground level. And we have donated some equipment to the Faculty of Electrical Engineering and Computer Science, and to Faculty of Agriculture, who basically developed or patented this thing. And I'm looking forward that the city municipalities will start using this thing when we are going to face extreme pollution, because basically what it's possible to be achieved with this method is to reduce significantly by 70% the pollution for a limited period of time of a couple of hours. Yes, it's not solving the problem permanently, but it's at least kind of a vertical or niche method how to tackle the extreme pollution.
And one small question, the measurements and the using of your network, is it public? The data are public, or this is?
The data is going to be public, yes.
Okay,
Absolutely,
excellent.
by all means.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Miletic, you mentioned the Unsmoke campaign. Can you tell us a little bit more? What does it mean? And I also noticed in the lobby of the hotel some banners with this campaign.
Sure, thank you. So, for more than 150 years, our product in the tobacco industry remained basically unchanged, right? It was a roll of tobacco rolled in some paper with a filter or without the filter, and smokers would light it up, and combusting the tobacco and combusting the paper, they would consume it and release tobacco smoke in the air. I mentioned that for us, this innovation that came around about 10 years ago really started to transform everything from the way that we think about things and really change to the way we work and to the way we approach our business. And the shifting paradigm from combustible cigarettes to these new products created, and Yair mentioned, small things that we can all do to improve the environment. For every smoker that switches to these non-combustible products, we take away one person who is breathing smoke into the air, because these products actually do not release many toxicants that there are in tobacco smoke, and they leave the even internal room air vastly unchanged. So it started with this, and this Unsmoke campaign is a logical next step for us, because we realized that there were many, over the years, there have been numerous attempts to get smokers to quit smoking and causing harm to themselves and to their environment. But most of them didn't work for one reason. That most of them focused on two things: if you don't smoke, don't start, and if you smoke, quit. We think that now with this innovation, we brought the third dimension to this, which is if you don't quit, change. And this is something that we are talking about in this campaign. Now, we cannot do this alone, because I don't know how many people know this, but if you measure the believability in society of what comes out of people's mouths in the tobacco industry, on average, folks like you sitting in this audience will believe about 13% of what I'm saying. Now, that's due to the history of the tobacco industry, but that's why we know that we cannot do this alone. We need to have this conversation. We need to have a conversation about how to change, again, the paradigm of what does quitting smoking mean. And we really think we can do this with this campaign, because this is the first campaign that we know of that really takes into account the fact that in 2025 there will still be more than 1 billion and 100 million smokers around the world. Regardless of any campaign to stop smoking and to force people to stop smoking, and regardless of regulatory efforts and increasing excise amounts and everything else, these people will continue to smoke. This means that in the Balkans in 2025 we will still have millions of people smoking conventional cigarettes, unless we have this discussion and unless we provide them with the third dimension that we think is so important. So this is what Unsmoke is about.
Alternative, right?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Banks, how does pollution, generally air pollution especially, affect a country image, economic development of the country, the FDIs? Please tell us more.
I think air quality in general, environmental issues, tend to affect countries in two different ways. I think if you look at what North Macedonia is trying to do and attract economic investment here and to bring companies and jobs here, bring their young people home to work and raise their families here. When you look at what companies outside of Macedonia are looking for, companies tend to look at quality of life when they're trying to find a place to locate a new business. And air quality is always one of those key pieces that they look at. Countries with bad air quality are not as likely to get companies to move in. The second point on economic development really comes down to companies that already exist here in Macedonia. How are they impacted by air quality? And they're actually impacted quite a bit. When you look at the lost work days due to air pollution, they're enormous. On a global scale, by 2060, there will be 3.8 billion days lost due to air pollution. This is from asthma attacks and other respiratory diseases all the way down to cancer and other much more serious diseases. This is a big deal, and when in a place like Macedonia with bad air quality, companies are also seeing this on their bottom lines, because when workers don't show up to work, productivity goes down, economic output goes down as well. And then the other piece is it's a huge drain on the public health sector as well, which takes away additional funds and makes the country less attractive for economic investment. So those would be, in short, those would be the things I think, on a high level that you need to consider when you're thinking about the economic impact of air pollution.
Yeah, thank you. Yair, back to you. So Israel is known as a very entrepreneur and innovative country. So can you give us some few examples of what things you are doing? I mean, overall, Israelis are doing differently than in Macedonia, what we are doing, and maybe some of those examples can help us at least to solve some of those traditional and basic problems that we have with the pollution.
Yeah, actually I do. We have, in Israel, we are using sun thermal heating for water. This started to be very strong in the 70s, late 70s. We're talking about systems, very cheap systems that are located on the rooftops. It's mandatory in Israel. This kind of system costs, like, to the consumer, I'm talking about 200, 300 euros for a system, and that's in Israel. So it should be
You say
cheaper
200,
here.
300 euros per household?
Yeah.
Individual household or buildings?
No,
Apartment
it's
buildings?
private, and there are systems for high buildings. But it's the same mostly. And 85% of the households in Israel have this kind of a system. It's a very cheap system. Even if you buy the most expensive, so they will cost 500 euros. They last for 10 years, 15 years, and you get hot water for free, okay, from the sun. In Israel, it lasts from May to now. I'm not using any electricity to heat the water for my house. So, and this became mandatory. It brings lots of work to the people. It's local, it's using sun energy, and you have sun here as well.
Yeah, we have 280 sunny days in Macedonia.
And
on
you
average.
don't need, it doesn't have to be hot. You just need a few hours of sun, and you have hot water. And even if you have very short time of sun during the day, so you can reduce the energy consumption.
But how about
perfect
in the
for here.
winter time? Because the major problem we have in winter time, does it work also in winter time, the same system?
Yeah, because sometimes during winter time you have sun. And this is, of course, it won't solve all the problems because you have rainy days without sun. So but it's a cheap system and it's working. And in Israel, I checked it, it saved like 10% of the energy.
Wow.
That's a lot. And we're doing this all the time. And now we have many, many companies that are doing this. The technology is very, very simple. There are few examples for that. And it's very, very, very simple to do that. Another idea, it's maybe more about innovation, is a company called SodaStream. Maybe you heard about it. It's a company that actually sell small machines that you can make soda water.
You mean the bubbles
Bubbled
in the,
water,
in the
yeah.
drink?
Instead of buying the plastic bottles, so you won't have so much work.
You're killing my business. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm hurting your business, I'm so sorry. But I'm sure you'll find something more innovative to do. I know you But so this company actually was established in London in 1903.
Okay.
And then it had many nice experiences, but in 2006 it was almost done. They almost bankrupt. Then they brought, it was bought by an Israeli company and it was almost closed. They brought an interesting CEO, Daniel Birnbaum, and he started working on it and he talked about design for sustainability, eco-design. He went on the green spot because he was introducing this as a solution, exactly like I was describing on circular economy. Instead of making bottles and filling them, buying them, moving them, shipping them, then you have to throw them or recycle them in the good, sometimes it gets into recycling, you know that. So you just need to buy the machine and you have a bottle and reusing it again and again and again and refilling the soda, okay? So last year he sold the company to PepsiCo in $4.3 billion. Wow. Unbelievable. Now this factory is sitting in the south of Israel, and in this factory people from like Bedouin, Muslims, Christians, and Jewish Israeli people work together equally. And this is an amazing opportunity. And PepsiCo now, instead of selling Coke, they sell the extraction, and you can make your own Coke at home. So it's expanding and scaling. That's a nice thing. This could happen also in Macedonia. I don't see any reason why not.
Yeah.
So
yeah. That's a great example also. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for sharing it with us. So, Mr. Lyushev, from a perspective of a telecom company, what do you emphasize as a future, I don't know, mid and long term, in the terms of your industry, but related to the environment overall?
Well, I'm a big believer that the use of advanced digital technologies is going to bring a tremendous value to the society in general. It's going to reduce and optimize city resources, will reduce costs, will provide citizens with much better services, will provide greater security, protect the environment. Some UN data that I've read recently says that by year 2050, 2/3 of the world population is going to live in the cities. So if we manage to optimize the use of resources in these cities by using advanced digital technologies and make smart city solutions, I think that is going to be a big level. We have already implemented smart transport solution in the city of Skopje. We were rewarded for this one. We are now in a stage of upgrading it with additional functionalities. I think that we can have a lot of improvements in the lighting with introduction of smart lighting solutions, which is basically bringing some 40 to 50% cost reduction. And it's gaining momentum in Macedonia. So I'm very pleased that finally it's coming to us. I was for a certain period of time responsible for our Montenegrin operation. And we had also quite significant traction and momentum in Montenegro as well. I do hope that Macedonia is not going to lag behind. There are solutions like, monitoring of noise, monitoring of air quality that we are now exploring and implementing. What's very interesting is, for instance, smart waste management. I think that we are struggling in Macedonia with that one. Based on my experience in Montenegro, for instance, we were helping some northern parts of Montenegro to really improve the situation with the waste. And I think that this is a particularly important and good solution for some areas in Macedonia as well. We have developed already some advanced billing solutions for e-charging stations for e-vehicles. For instance, at this very moment, tourists who are coming to Macedonia cannot charge their electric cars. if a tourist is coming with a Tesla car, he cannot charge it here in Macedonia because you have to be, you know, a local tax resident, you have to be a consumer of EVN in order to be in a position to charge your car on a public spot. And this is something that we are offering at this very moment as an advanced billing solution where basically with a credit card you can pay for the electricity and energy that your car is going to consume. There are a lot of ideas. Plenty of these things are out of the box. We have them ready. Some of them should be tailor-made for specific clients, but we are very excited and very happy that finally City of Skopje is moving in this direction. The tender for the smart city has been opened, and we hope that next year the one who is going to win is going to present already some interesting use cases.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Mr. Miletić, you're kind of on a slippery slope here in Macedonia with this, you know, with the tobacco and the model that you're proposing. We are a country of tobacco growers and also smokers, and you're promoting the Unsmoke campaign. How do you think that this campaign in your portfolio of alternative products can fit in the Macedonian business model in tobacco industry?
Yeah, this is a question that I've heard a lot over the last few days here in Macedonia, and I think it's normal whenever somebody talks about a paradigm shift and a dramatic change like this, that a human mind instantly goes to a place where it starts creating reasons why something like this cannot happen. In Macedonia, you quickly arrive to, well, this is a country of tobacco growers, with a long tradition of tobacco growing and thousands of people and families living from tobacco growing in Macedonia. And the second thing you said is, there are so many smokers here. There are people who really, will not get rid of this habit. But so, if we address those two things separately, first of all, we are talking about a paradigm shift that does not need to have drastic changes in order for it to happen. So, because what we're talking about here is we're not talking about tobacco-free. We are talking about smoke-free future. Okay. As I mentioned, the products in which we invested more than $6 billion so far in R&D and more than 10 years of work by many people have found ways to help people consume tobacco, but with a lot less exposure to toxicants than combustible cigarettes. I mentioned reduction of about more than 90% of toxic substances from tobacco smoke, and so for us, this means continuing to work on tobacco products, but only that are a lot less harmful than continuing to smoke cigarettes. In Macedonia, we are the largest purchaser of tobacco. We buy more than 30% of Macedonian leaf. Macedonian leaf is excellent. We use it in our brands not only here in Macedonia, but in many other markets. And so when I talk to people in Macedonia about future plans and about the future of the industry, by no means does it exclude Macedonian tobacco. As a matter of fact, Macedonian Oriental tobacco is world known to be of very high quality, and Oriental tobacco is something that we certainly use in our reduced risk products. So that's number one thing. And when it comes to smokers, look, Macedonian consumers are European consumers. They are just as sophisticated and just as eager for new trends and for new brands, and they follow what's going on in the world. And I think that this is a change that's coming, and I'm confident that Macedonian consumers will embrace it, and at least that in their minds they will start to think about this discussion that we're having about at least having a different discussion about quitting smoking.
Okay.
Thank you.
Now it's better, it's clear, definitely. So, thank you. And Mr. Banks, can you give us some examples from the world where you have like success stories? Because many times the business is reluctant to do some changes. They're considering that development will be jeopardized. So, are there stories where you will not compromise the development of the economical development, but at the same time you can reduce the pollution?
Yeah, if you work in the environmental policy world and you're advocating for for a change, for a new policy, new regulations, new laws, the first thing you're going to hear is typically from industry is the response will be, this will bankrupt us, we're going to put all our workers out on the street, you can't do this. But experience around the world, in the US, in Mexico, in Canada, and a bunch of other places, Nigeria, a bunch of other places where I work, is exactly the opposite. What happens typically is there's all of this blustering about going bankrupt, and then you get the policy in place. The engineers and the innovators within the companies come up with cheaper alternatives to comply, to do it faster, to do it quicker, or to do it better. And in the end, we end up with a cleaner environment for less costs. If you want real examples, I would point you to a couple of things. First, Nigeria. And when I say Nigeria, most people would be like, oh my God, how can you point to Nigeria as an environmental example? Nigeria is a massive oil and gas country. It has had a huge problem with pollution from oil and gas for decades. They were flaring off more natural gas than anyone else in the world for a long time, and they were still in the top 5, top 10 of countries flaring off natural gas around the world, wasting tremendous amounts of energy, creating tremendous amounts of pollution. Starting in the year 2000, they initiated a number of different policies that have brought down the amount of flaring from natural gas down by 70%, and they have a policy to go the rest of the way to what they call flare out, an innovative policy to do so, all while keeping the industry moving within Nigeria. Another example, and again, looking to a place that, I don't want to point to places like California. It's easy to point to California. They've had a lot of success in implementing strong environmental policies but when you point to California, you're instantly talking about billions of dollars that can be thrown at environmental policies. So the other one I want to point to is Mexico. Mexico has adopted new policies to cut pollution from their oil and gas sector by 65%. They have now the strongest policies on oil and gas pollution in the world. They joined an agreement with the United States and Mexico to do so, and then or the United States and Canada to do so, and then they went like 3 steps further than what the U.S. and Canada were willing to do. So, all while keeping the industry moving. The final example that I'll throw out, and this time I will go to the United States for this, is because it's a key example is Colorado. The state of Colorado was the first state to begin looking at air pollution issues coming from the massive developments of oil and gas that were happening in the state. Several years ago, they instituted some of the strongest policies at the time to address air pollution from these sources. Air pollution came down dramatically, but at the same time, oil and gas development continued to grow and create more jobs in the community. So I think those are some examples of how air quality control, how energy policy does not necessarily mean that the economic development of any one place is going to be diminished.
Okay, yeah, thank you. Yair, you're the last in this round, and this is the last round. So in Israel, what's driving the innovation? Who is driving the innovation, especially in this field of environment?
So many people are talking about technology, and I love technology. It's great. But the main source and resource that we are using is people. And that's the most important. And we encourage people to dare and to make mistakes all the time. And many of the startups and the companies are failing, but many more are succeeding. That's the most important thing. So I can give you 2 examples for that. One, maybe you know Waze. You're using it here, or you're using Google Maps. Waze was a very small startup that was talking about community mapping for drivers. And they started in 2007, I think, as a small startup. And they developed it. And then they developed it in such a way that Google decided to buy it in $1 billion.
Wow.
And it's actually part of Google. And it's working all over the world. And because people are sharing their knowledge of where they are, and also reporting if there's somebody in a need, or they have a problem with the car, or the road is stuck, or something is broken, they can shorten the way and avoid traffic jams. So I'm not using my car without Waze. And this company, so they have a very successful thing. You know it as a Google Maps, okay? So it's mostly the same technology right now, but they're sitting in the same building. But for the last 2 or 3 years, they're working on carpool. Because they realized, carpool.
Car sharing, okay.
Car sharing. It's a system that you can pick up people and charge them through the app, and it's working. And I think you should use it here because, again, you can avoid using your car, so that's the best thing you can do, just avoid using the car.
Yeah.
And that's one thing, and it's a big company. The other company is a company that I always like to tell you about, and it's a company that I work with. It's called Home Biogas. They developed this little machine. It's basically a machine that is made from plastic, and you put all your organic stuff from home, like all the leftovers of your organic waste, into this.
The food waste, mainly from the
food waste,
household.
yeah, household food waste. It costs like 400 euros in Israel. Maybe, it can cost less than that. And it converts your food waste into gas, cooking gas. So you're actually using your food waste to cook. And the rest of it is becoming a liquid compost, so you can water your garden or use it.
Okay.
So that's circular economy. And so simple. And instead of taking your waste, moving it to somewhere else and burying it, that's cradle to grave. You can just use it to cook and, again, reduce the air pollution. Now, because we don't have time and we were not sure about it, so anyone wants to know about how you can use black soldier fly larvas, like worms, that eat your garbage and becomes food waste, food for animals, you can talk with me later on. And so we believe in people, and people bring new ideas that boost the economy and keep the young people in the country. Because we had the same problem like Macedonia 20 years ago. People went away because it was hard. We have our own problems in the Middle East. You probably hear about it more every day. Yeah, we are a very small and famous country. But we had a problem when we had to keep the people in the country. And it's not one solution. It's money coming from, we have the Israel Innovation Authority. It's governmental money that they put into startups and also into companies just to keep the innovation and entrepreneurship spirit in Israel. And then when people start earning money and becoming international and see that they can, control their life, so they don't want to go anywhere. Maybe they want to come to other countries and share knowledge like me and do things together and bring more ideas from all over the world, but I would like to stay in Israel. That's my country. So I think it's perfectly fit to Macedonia.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I like your ideas so much, and now it's time to wrap this part of the panel. So I would go in the same way that we discussed. So obviously for the telecom companies, the near future will be smart cities, more or less. We have the biggest shift, I would say, in the tobacco history, right? Replacing cigarettes with smoke-free products, not tobacco-free, smoke-free products. We have these amazing examples globally of solving the issue, so it's not impossible, and we should start, as you said, Mr. Banks, start from the new projects, start with them, and in parallel solve the old ones. And of course, innovation innovation as the way to lead, the future. Yeah. And so what I can say also that for us as an organization, as I mentioned at the beginning, we will definitely stay committed. And here I would like also to thank the new chairman, Vera Stavrov, and Nikita, the new CEO, that they are very supportive, and all of the board members, and that we will remain to be the main driver of this change in the environment. And we will push to set short-term goals, mid-term goals, and to see the real change. And in that view, of course, the future is for the young people and for the startups. So I will give now the floor to two amazing young Macedonians who have these great startup ideas. And first we will give the floor to Mikhail Stevchev from Tribanks. So Mikhail, please, the floor is yours. It's yours.
Okay, so it works. Okay, let's see. Okay, so let's see.
We said 3 minutes, but we have 5, in fact.
Okay, so my name is Mikhail. I recently got branded as the guy that plants trees because everyone that sees me, oh, you're the guy that plants trees. So I'm using now this as a personal brand. So I will try to wrap up in 3 to 5 minutes what is Tribanks and how we plan to plant 1 million trees in Macedonia for free. Okay, so how many trees together with Tribanks can this summit plant? How many trees can Tiho Macedonia plant together with Tribanks? How many trees can Philip Morris International plant together with Tribanks? How many trees can your company plant with Tribanks for free? So we will answer this question quite easily. You book your trip, we plant a tree for free. So how this works? So you open tribanks.com, you choose your favorite booking platform, you book your trip as before, the train ticket, the plane ticket, the accommodation, going on holidays, corporate travels, whatever. We get a small fee because we have affiliate partnership with all of these travel companies. And we use that money to invest in planting trees. So simply, happiness, you have planted a tree with a click. So a part of me speaking here, we don't mind to get our hands dirty. So this is from our first test planting action, where we wanted to see how many trees we can plant in one day. So we planted 400 trees in 3 hours. Wow. So these are... So these are our helpers. So the local NGO was included. They were volunteering. The youngest person was 10 years, and the oldest one was my father, which is 64, I think, probably. I don't know. So, where we are so far? So far we have planted 400 trees in the test action where we want to see how many we can plant. We donated 73 trees to the Skopje Zoo. And starting from June till now, we have gathered 535 trees as of today to plant in the following actions. So who's behind? Me, as I said, the guys that plant trees. So I have a background in software engineering. I have been part of 2 startups regarding that work in the travel industry. One of them was accelerated in Portugal, so that's how I got to know about affiliate partnerships and marketing. So I use this knowledge to combine what we have in our family to create Tribanks. Mitko Stevchev, who is responsible for the tree plantings and organizing everything. He has experience in ecology for the past 30 years. And Neven Stevchev, who is responsible for organizing the tree planting actions and all of the permits that we need to get. So the 10 years challenge, we did it a bit differently. So on the left side, there is a tree which was planted in Plain Rocks 16 years ago. And we visited the same tree this year, so it's still alive. So there is no soil. This was a method created by Mitko, which is part of the team. So when he was working in one of the mines in Macedonia, it was a project where they wanted to reforest the soil, which was not, you're not able to do anything with it. So this was inspiration for our design. For this design, it was done by Nina Simovska. And we created this channel in order to keep the things running in the past 2 months. So the idea is you buy our t-shirt and we plant 1 tree. So we created this event where we sold like 104 t-shirts, and we're also here. So where we had the lunch. So after, in the coffee break, I invite you, all of you, to buy yourself a t-shirt and we will plant 1 tree. So we do other actions. We gather some acorns. This is from the native oak that grows here. It's called Acer macedonicum. And some photos of it. And we call this month the month of planting. So we have 3 plant actions. Tomorrow I invite all of you to come here. We will plant 100 trees on Vodno. Next Saturday, we plant 400 trees in Lake Mladost in Veles, where there was that big fire that happened in September. And we're planting in Ohrid on the 30th of November, where one hotel supported us in the beginning, so we'll organize in this planting in the city. So if you're still wondering how many trees your company can plant for free, drop us a line. How it works, we create a landing page on our website, and every booking that you make from your own landing page, we consider that it's planted as your company. So after 5 years, you can tell we planted this many trees and this many CO2 was sequestrated with the help of us. So great. It was 5 minutes, so sorry.
Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Amazing idea and a concept, and tomorrow we'll be more than eager to join the team. So the next one is Olga Rajcik with the Challenger, the startup concept. Please, Olga.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you, Macedonia 2025, for having us today here to share the story of Challenger. But before starting to tell you our inspiring story of 4 young enthusiasts, I would like you to show you a video.
Air pollution is putting the health of millions of people at risk. Pollution levels are 10 times.
Aren't you tired of the air pollution and traffic jam? Here's Challenger, a mobile app that will motivate you to make a change. Leave your car at home and reduce your carbon footprint. Start your activity, join the Challenger community, and we will reward you for biking, walking, and even running. Challenger tracks every green kilometer you make, so join our challenges, complete them, and get rewards. You can exchange your green kilometers to get free goods or discounts. Find out more on challenger.mk and turn your human power on.
So, yeah, we're Challenger, and our motto is to turn the human power on. And how we do this? Well, it's very simple. We tackle the air pollution, and as our panelists said, traffic jam and transportation is one of the causes why we have air pollution within the country, and we say we can barely breathe in Nisa Disha. So we figured out, let's do something great together, but how are we going to do this? Well, use the technology for the good. And we created a mobile app that rewards users that bike, walk, or run. And you may ask, well, what do they get? How businesses get incorporated in all of this application? Well, Challenger is your green marketing channel, the first one within our region. And how do we give opportunities to businesses to promote themselves? We have challenges. So your brand, your business is actually giving a challenge to your fellow co-citizens. So you make them run, walk, or bike, and you give them rewards. So actually they do something for your brand. And it's the first time in the history that actually your brand gets direct involvement with your potential and direct customers. But we don't stop here. We have our Challenger store. Every kilometer brings you points And with those points, you can buy discounts. For the smaller companies, it's actually a good marketing channel and good brand awareness because it's the real time to do something and support your fellow co-citizens because they're doing something that is socially responsible. And by motivating your fellow and potential customers, you're actually becoming corporate social responsible company yourself. And how, you may ask, but what's our impact as a business? Well, our application gives measures, meaning that you're aware of the fact how many kilometers have been biked for your particular brand, and how your brand actually motivated your citizens, and how we're, as a community, creating the change. And of course, without a great team, this could not be possible, and it's four of us. It's myself, Theodora, Stefan, and Mitko that are here as well. And we are very proud to be the winner of the Startup Weekend, the third place. And we raised investment on the regional level, 10K, and we were finalists at the European Youth Award. So I will ask you a question as a business. Do you accept the challenge to be a green business today? Because it's too late to be that tomorrow. So feel free to contact us and turn your human power on and be part of Challenger community. Thank you very much.
Great. Thank you, Olga. Please be in the front.
Yeah, I would just have, because the telecom CEO actually mentioned that you were doing something similar, you were planning. Actually, that's our second stage, so we will be honored to cooperate with you and have such an application within your company because we already exist. So that will be a good cooperation. Yeah. Thank you very much.
This is a first-hand pitch. Good job. Yeah. So I will ask Olga and Mikhail to remain here in the front seats because we will now start with the Q&A session and they will be also available for the questions from the audience. So Kirk, please.
We had a question right up front here. Yep.
Hi, I have a question for Challenger. Do you actually, if I'm the user and if I get plus points for all the green transportation, do I, if I drive my car, for example, do you deduct from the pluses?
Unfortunately, is this on? Yeah.
Sorry, Olga. So Donna is my friend and a colleague, and she was the first one in Macedonia actually to offer to our colleagues. So we were working together at University American College. Every morning she was offering to pick us up from her place of residence to the university. First one, yeah. Bravo, Donna. So she's now asking for some reward.
But was offered, yeah, for 2 months.
Olga, please stand up.
Yeah. Well, at the beginning, we're going to measure how many kilometers you have on bike and walking, and we're rewarding the points for your green kilometers. Of course, when you're in the car, we are aware that you're in the car, so you don't get points. So we are not reducting that points from your account, but actually we're just rewarding for being social aware. But what's very important that we have a mission to promote sustainable habits within our co-citizens. So that's the point, to reward you for doing something that is socially aware.
Any other questions? No? We don't right here. Yep. I have plenty to ask. I just want to make sure the crowd has an opportunity first. We have a second one in the middle. But
yes, if there is no question, maybe a short comment, or maybe not so short. So
questions only.
To congratulate.
Questions only.
If it's a question only, then I may pass. Huh?
Okay, then we have one in the middle.
No, but I will not. Thank you, Chris. So first, to congratulate the organizers because they have chosen the most topical issue to discuss about. To congratulate the moderator, the panelists from this panel and the previous one. I was just coming back to the country last year after serving for 4 years as Macedonian ambassador to Sweden. So I was able to see firsthand and to learn firsthand how a country which was on the brinks of non-existence in terms of air pollution back in the 60s, when Stockholm was one of the most polluted cities in Europe, succeeded to make a successful transition in just a few decades and become almost carbon-free country and carbon-free city. So basically, what I'm happy about is to see that so many different stakeholders from the ecosystem are working already together here. So what took Sweden several decades, it may mean that nowadays, when we have already available technology, which is not so expensive as it was a few decades ago, when we have the knowledge in the civil society, with the young generations, with the youngsters, when we have the knowledge and the awareness raised already in the business sector and with the policymakers, I'm very optimistic, very positive, and very enthusiastic that the change in Macedonia can happen in a much shorter period of time. So I think only the matter that would mean a lot is whether we find the good methods to collaborate together. So the different segments in the society, the NGOs, the startup community, the corporates, together with the local and the central government, to work together on policy creation, but also on policy implementation, to work together on which methods, which ways would be best applied in the 21st century, in the second decade in Macedonia, in order to succeed in the transition as soon as possible. So I hope this counts as a question. Thank you.
Alexandra, thank you. I would just add just one line. I would like to emphasize the role of the media. It's crucial. If we want to make it fast, the role of the media is really important. So they're already on the good way, so we just want to encourage them more. Okay.
Hello, I just want to ask Mikhail. We met previously, we talked, we'll probably collaborate here, Mikhail. But,
stand up, please?
But on the other hand, just in front of the crowd and maybe in front of the panel, what are your next steps and what are you looking for?
Well, because we are bootstrapping at the moment, if you're thinking about that, so we would like to get to 500 trees per month in the next year. So we would start our own production of tree seedlings. That is our goal. So what is important to know that this all was achieved organically. We haven't paid any advertisements or anything so far. And probably we would like to plant after the first year, when we achieve sustainability without any other investments or cashing, we would like to plant maybe 100,000 trees per year. So this would require to be planted by professionals, which will be hired by us, not just with volunteers. So 2020 we would like to get to 500 reservations made from our platform, which is approximately 1% of the outgoing tourists outside of Macedonia. Although the platform is available everywhere in the world, and currently we started this with landing pages. We only starting to move to B2B. So previously we were only B2C. Now with these partnerships, which we signed with Macedonia 2025 1 month ago, we are moving this because company travels are converting more than regular people. So.
Question here in the middle. Yep.
Ryan Brenchley, local business owner here for 19 years. I have a question about the ride-sharing concept. We've heard that a couple times through the summit. The next time you get in a car and you're driving somewhere and there's no one in your car and you're driving down the street and you look in all the other cars, just count and see if there's anybody else, if there's only one person in that car or if there's other people. In many cities all around the world, there's single drivers driving in cars all around the cities. We had a young man share in a session yesterday that one of his colleagues, similarly like our friend here that's doing the tree campaign, came up with a ride-sharing app and started to test it. And he came under a lot of pressure from taxi drivers. Okay, he was threatened, and he backed off from that project. So my question for the panel is how do we overcome that? How do you work with the community? We've talked about that. We need to work together to solve this problem. Okay, and the fact is, even though we have taxis and we have buses and things like that, there's a lot of single drivers driving cars all over Skopje. So I'd love to see any feedback on that question.
As a local, I can say just from my perspective, if you're persistent to do with the idea, you will succeed. I'm definite in it, also in business, like in any other business. So I would also like maybe to share with the other panelists on their opinion. You had a similar case in Israel, right?
We have this working. It's a system that works. You just have to, and I think it's working over here, and if not, I can try and help with that. But the system means that you get paid for taking people in your car. You're not doing that just for the environment. And that's very easy. When you get some money, other people might use that. It's a very simple solution, and it's working in Israel and in other places. So then you don't have to force people to do that.
Jonathan?
The extremely low-tech version is to have an 18-year-old and a 17-year-old that steal your car and make you drive your bicycle everywhere around town. So that's what's happened to me.
Yeah, I think that also you cannot stop change. You know, it's similar like recently we had this big strike of the taxi drivers in Belgrade. And they were against Uber or similar application, you know, but you cannot stop progress. So eventually they will also have to adapt. So, Michael, yeah?
So I would like to add my comment because we discussed with you this. I am aware about this, and also there are some self-initiated groups that exist on Facebook which were closed because they were threatened by inspection. So what I would say that here are powerful people, and this is a message for all of you. If you see a startup which is in the beginning and they're fragile, they will not fight back. On the first threat, they will close their company. So give them the support. Because the car sharing concept in Macedonia has been started multiple times. It's not only one thing. The thing is that legislation, when you take money here, it's a bit harder and cannot be overcome without changing and adapting it to these kind of things. So usually it's considered a black economy or, let's say, gray economy. So if you see a startup like this, give them all the support you have, because these children, or let's say students, don't have that skin that want to fight with those things. And when someone important stands behind them, then it's a little bit easier. A lot of doors are open. So these are my 2 cents on the subject.
Thank you.
And we'll go last question right here.
Thank you. Can you hear me? Yeah. I didn't say my name when I posed the first question, Makedonka. I'm in the energy efficiency family business for 20 years now, and I have seen a lot of bright examples for going green, but they're mostly led by big and profitable companies. So this would be a question to Mr. Ilyushev and Mr. Miletic. Have you considered greening your your transportation fleet? And do you see on energy efficiency as a resource to become more competitive in the future?
Okay. Well, yeah, we have already a Tesla car, one of the few in the country. We are struggling, fairly speaking, with the autonomy of that car because we don't have that many charging stations. And just to make a comparison to Montenegro that I mentioned before, and I left Montenegro in February this year, imagine a country that is a tourist country, having a lot of tourists from outside, and there was no charging station at all. So we were the ones, Crnogorski Telekom was the one who deployed the very first charging station in the city of Budva. So electric vehicles is yes, absolutely, but we need to think about infrastructure in addition. Having a slow charges of 22 kilowatts, you need to leave the car for, over the night to charge it fully. And that's not the modus operandi that you are going to be ready to replace your conventional car with the charging, with quick charging. I think that Tesla has in the United States, I don't know, 250 kilowatt powerful charging stations that can fill up the, that they can fill up the car in a couple of minutes. And this is the experience that counts. So yes, we were thinking a lot about buying electric vehicles, but we need to think whether the infrastructure is ready, because we cannot afford that operative vehicles are going to sit over the day to be charged. Or through the night, yeah.
I think from our side, I think one simple solution that we can offer is something we're already doing at Philip Morris, and that's on the ride-sharing front. Basically, as a big company that has more than 1,000 employees throughout Southeast Europe. I mentioned 2 factories, one in Niš, then the Combinat in Prilep, where we have the joint venture. We have many people going back and forth, as you can imagine, every day. And so we have rules for those people who are traveling from Niš to Belgrade, which is 230 kilometers, that they cannot travel by themselves. So people have to be very conscious of ride sharing. This is something that I think a company like ours can do to benefit. I completely agree with Mr. Yusha about the need for infrastructure. I don't think that we're necessarily ready for green cars at the moment. I think that that's still a few years off. But also to address something that our friend, the tree planting guy, said, and that's the need for big companies to help startups. I could not agree more. And at Philip Morris, we've had something called Startup for Your Future for a number of years already. This is a program that we started in Serbia. It's now in Macedonia as well. Where we actually recognize that we have a responsibility to help small and medium-sized businesses, and this is exactly what we help them with, is this kind of support in terms of here is what you need to, here's the infrastructure that you need in terms of advocating for yourself, in terms of, providing them the support. And I'm happy to say that many people don't know this, but only 1 out of 5 small businesses survives the incubation period, which is the first year. 4 die within several months, as you mentioned, because they simply are too fragile. We've been very successful, and we've had 100% success rate in supporting more than 500 businesses over the last five years, and so we take our social responsibility very seriously, and we'll continue to do that. So thank you for that comment. Please raise it again wherever you can.
I would just want to add, for a country like Macedonia, where we're lacking the infrastructure for electric cars, the best step first is hybrid cars. And I would like to share the experience that we have now as a positive example from Serbia. From January next year, the government implemented so the sales tax will be off for all hybrid and electric cars. So this is kind of incentivizing purchasing of green cars, which hybrid cars could be also solution as a first step until the infrastructure for full electric cars is there in the ground.
Just to add a little bit on this one, in Macedonia we are supposed not to pay for a pay toll when you're driving an electric car.
And hybrid?
But there is a big but. I'm aware about that one for a year and a half, but anytime I approach the pay toll, I'm always asked to pay independently of this fact. So, one thing is what's written in the law or in the bylaw, and the other thing is what's happening on the road. And another vivid example about the efficiency and the economy of using electric cars, we drove the Tesla from Skopje to Graz in Vienna, and it cost us 20 or 25 euros. To charge electricity in Croatia, because along the road it was free of charge, but the road took 2.5 days, because we need to sleep over, and to charge the car for at least 6 to 8 hours. So, infrastructure is something that looks trivial thing, but it's definitely the deciding factor whether you engage yourself and commit financial resources to buy a fleet of electric cars.
Thank you all so much. Appreciate it. And before we go to the break, I want to make sure we have the information up there for tomorrow for the planting at Vodna. I believe we have a slide for some information on that. Yeah, so if you want to come tomorrow 10:30, we're going up to Vono to plant 100 trees to be a part of the movement to do that. So again, hope everybody that's here will come back for that tomorrow. Before that, 4:15, please be back here. If you're in the back, come towards the front. We want to make sure you're here. Some of the success stories of young Macedonians, successful companies, and their careers today. So see you back here in about 20 minutes. Thank you, guys.